Say hello.
Hello.
Hey everyone, this is Sergeant Danger Cow from British Sergeant's Mess, and welcome to episode 14 of Chewing the Cud. Thanks for joining me. This week, the big news, of course, is the September patch. Now, I am not going to be like every single other content producer and just talk about the patch notes, which of course are up on the forum, so why you would... Anyway. Yeah, I mean, the patch has dropped in some sort of biblically cleaving fashion within the forums, by which I mean that it has set aside those who are pragmatic and accept the fact that the game that they like to play has actually been more brought up to the code and has, no pun intended, and has been brought up to the standards which they would want and expect from their beloved game. And you've got those who are willfully intransigent and will not accept any changes, will not give DICE the credit they deserve for actually fixing the game, which admittedly, yes, they balked up. They've held their hands up in a sort of veiled way to the fact that they balked it up at the beginning. I don't think all the blame can be laid at their door, but it's now been fixed. DICE LA have done a hell of a job, so we're very pleased about that. On that note, I'd just like to thank Tigger particularly for being so responsive to the community, taking aboard ideas and actually conversing with some of the community, which has been really, really, really refreshing. And if only it was more by a lot more, and but anyway, the point is it's a start, and he has done some really good work in coming out and talking about what's going on and taking on board ideas or saying, well, that can't work, and it's really, really good. So I'm really pleased about that. So the patch is, as I say, very happy with the patch and the way it's worked. If I'm being cynically minded, I would say I feel that the TTK thing is more, that's time to kill, by the way, in case you didn't know, is more to provide a buffer for the netcode to work in. So that, I mean, I understand that the netcode is tighter, but there is still quite a discrepancy between what you see and what the enemy sees, and what the server thinks, and all the sort of calculations within to provide the gamer to gamer interaction. And I think the TTK thing has provided a buffer for that all to work in, or the deficiencies, I should say, provide a buffer for the deficiencies within that, loosely termed netcode. And I think also, cynically again, I think the reduction in grenades hasn't really addressed any spam issues, because spam can come from the M320 or the air burst. So the spam issue is of explosions into areas like Metro or whatever. I mean, there are always going to be people complaining out their asses about the fact that the nades have gone down. Now, I don't really give a shit. I do think what it has been put in there is to again provide a buffer for the deficiencies in cards being able to deal with the explosions going off and their frame rate drops. So what they have now done with these grenades being removed, the V40 and the RGO, which are the most ubiquitously used nades within the game, they have been reduced, and their increase in reload time to, I think it's 25 seconds, which is very, 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 very long, to be honest, in a game when you've got to stand by an ammo pack. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably a touch excessive, and I don't think it cures the issue of spam. It does mean that the amount of explosions going off has been reduced, and therefore your mean frame rate drop will be less impacted as well. So that will be a bonus to a lot of people. But I mean, again, I'm just being cynical about those two things. So I'm going to move on now from the patch, because I think there are enough people out there with a much greater following than me that are all saying exactly the same thing, which is this is what the patch has got in it and what you need to know about the patch, even though you can actually read it on the forums. But there we go. I'm going to talk about what I want to see in the next patch, and things that I think could and should be addressed. And as a matter of priority, I think the first thing is knifing. The knifing system is so balked, it's unbelievable. I consistently am incapable of counter-knifing anyone, and I don't know why it is, because I seem to get counter-knifed fine, but other people counter-knife, I'm trying to counter-knife them, and I'm dead before even the little notification comes up to say press F to counter-knife. I'm dead before that even comes up, which I find extremely frustrating. I think the whole animation is too long. I think exiting the animation is too... there's a very noticeable transition period between the end of you knifing someone and you being able to move around and look around, and all someone has to do is just wait for you to finish, and then they can knife you because there's bugger all you can do about it. So I think that would be good to fix. Aircraft. Aircraft. Right. I've talked about being a pilot before. I'm not a pro pilot. I put my my ability somewhere on the line with a penguin and an ostrich. But I do notice things like the HUD needs to be... I think it would be really useful if the HUD could have an outline, a little tiny black outline around the sort of decals on the HUD, because it can be very difficult to see when you're flying around the place what's actually going on, particularly when you get the little lock warning and all the rest of it. Now I know that sound is a massive part of flying, because then you can hear the jets and where they are, and you can hear the deedle of you being locked and all the rest of it. If you can't use headphones, you can't use your sound, it does provide to be quite difficult. So I think just having a little outline on the decals of the HUD would be good. Still continuing with the HUD, the targeting system is all over the place, and it would be so good because it's there. It's misleading. So either get rid of it or make it work, and I'd rather the latter, because I think it would be really useful to have a HUD where the leading system, by the way, is called deflection shooting. The actual term of it is when you lead a target to make sure that you can hit them because they're moving in the travel time of the bullet to connect. That's deflection shooting. Now, when you're leading a target, you'll notice there's a little round circle that you should be able to put onto the plane that you're trying to shoot at, and that means the bullets will then hit the plane. But that doesn't work. It's not. It's just completely off. So either it should be got rid of because it's a broken system and it just confuses the issue, or it should be made to work. And as I say, I think much better if it was the latter. It's a more enjoyable and realistic experience. Sticking with aircraft still, flares and ECM still don't work, haven't worked since BF3. Please, for the love of God, please, can we fix these? There seems to be some issue between, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, the difference in ping between A and B player. So if A is on the ground and B is in the air, if A fires his rockets or whatever, then the B player who's in the air doesn't hear the lock on or doesn't hear the fact that they've been launched until well too late to react. And by the time, the number of times that I suddenly get smacked and I hear like boom, and I'm hit. And they're not active radar. These are, from mobile anti-aircraft, which, please, for the love of God, nerf. Anyway, I think there's that needs to be fixed. It's been a problem since BF3, and it would be really appreciated if that was fixed. Staying with aircraft again, jet pilots in air superiority, if you don't know, you are locked into your jet. You cannot eject from it, and I think that should be put into all of the games. You should, once you're in your jet, that's it. You're in the jet and you have to fly it. You can't eject, because there are two reasons for this. One, when you're in a dogfight, it's intensely annoying when you've avoided all the enemy stuff and you've got the guy into a maneuver. You shoot him, and as soon as you start hitting him, the guy ejects. And so many people do it in the red zones, but they're going to die anyway. They just don't want to give you the kill. And it's so frustrating and childish. And it just needs to be wiped out. And the second reason, which is actually even more valid, is it would stop bloody idiot, selfish, wanking snipers going up to the top of a tower and taking a jet and wasting a jet asset just because they want to get at the top of a tower. I mean, for God's sakes, just lock people in. If they're in the jet, they're in the jet, and they get in there until they're dead, and that's it. Now, the other part of that is helicopters. And the number of snipers do, or anyone actually, it's not just snipers, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be mean, but it normally is snipers. But people who want to go to the top of tall buildings, they'll take an entire venom to themselves, and regardless of it's full or not, they'll just bail as a pilot because they're over their precious little sniper spot or their precious little camping spot or whatever. Lock them in until that damn thing is in the red zone and about to blow up. Then let them eject. And I think the same that should be for all helicopters. Wait until they're in the red zone and then they can eject. If they have to eject before that, then it just encourages vehicle taxis. And I think there's a fairly good section of the community that would appreciate that being removed. JDAMs could be doing with improvements in terms of their accuracy, because often they don't hit. And I'll tell you, with JDAMs, you lose an awful lot of combat situational awareness when you're using a JDAM. It's a very, very risky thing to use because you have to fly quite low, you have to fly whilst trying to aim a target, and all you've got is what you're aiming with, so you don't see what's going on around you. And they don't blow up tanks. 2 JDAMs don't blow up a tank. That's ridiculous. They should blow up a tank. JDAMs need to work. They're big-ass bombs in real life, and one of them would take out a tank. 2 of them would definitely take out a tank. So I think, those could be worked on, made more accurate, and made more damaging, so that 2 of them will take out any armored target. So where are we else? I kind of think that's it. I mean, the aircraft HUD display color I talked about, flares and ECM, invisible walls and objects are still there, but much better. The hitboxes on furniture I was going to talk about, but I've actually noticed that's much better, particularly those stone bloody dragon things. Those are much better now, so they've all been tightened up, so that's really pleasing. So that's it for this week. Thanks. I kind of rambled here. Sorry I didn't have any real notes in front of me, so I kind of rambled, but thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Ta-ta.